Welcome back, witches, to season 2 of the Witchin Sisters podcast. Thank you for joining us. Where this is a space where being a witch means living in this world consciously, powerfully, and unapologetically. Excuse me. My name is Shannon, and this is Shalon. Shalon.
Hello.
And today we're going to kind of focus on talking about our personal self-love journeys and even give a little bit of information on how it's of support for you, listeners, to learn and take the next steps in your journey of self-love and even self-discovery. So as we get started today, I am going to set a little bit of sacred space for us. And then we're going to start our little chat. Not little chat, it's actually going to be beautiful today. Okay. Just like to call in our ancestors today to be with us and any other sacred beings that are here to support us. I'd also like to call on the goddess Aphrodite and Venus to join us as we talk about love and self-love and our divine feminine energy. May this be a sacred space for everybody listening and for ourselves to speak our truths honestly and authentically. And may it find the ones that it aligns with most as they begin their journeys to self-love and self-discovery. All peace and love.
Beautiful. I love that. I love that.
Right? The journey to self-love is self-discovery because you really have to get to know yourself
Yes.
as you begin to love yourself in everything.
Absolutely. Well, and Shannon and I decided that we wanted to focus on love just because it was just Valentine's Day, right? And Valentine's Day is very much centered around couples, right? It's for people who are in love and people who are like have a partner and all of this kind of stuff. And in reality, that's not the way it is for everybody, right? And that's okay because like love
experiencing that.
Exactly. Love is a universal language. Like I'm always like the only real emotion is love. And if there isn't love, then it's just a lack of it kind of thing. Right. And so, it's really, we started the self-love journey a long time ago. And I feel like it's something that lots of people don't talk about. Lots of people don't touch base on, that it's a very like a taboo subject, because I think when people talk about like self-love, sometimes it's coming up and across as being like self-centered or egotistical or all of these things. And in reality, it's like empowering, right? When you can love yourself like authentically and genuinely and accept yourself exactly the way you are, then you're able to do that for like more genuinely do that for the people around you as well, and attract more genuine people to your life, because it just reflects that back to you, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I really do. Like it's a journey that you're going to take forever. Like because they're ever evolving, like we're ever evolving. Okay. So and as you go on this journey, like you learn so much about yourself that this actually goes back into, like, if you go back into season 1 where we talked about shadow work, self-love. I'm sorry, but it really does come with a lot of shadow work as well, because loving yourself isn't just loving all of the best things about you and your best attributes. It's also about loving the parts of you that maybe you hide from, maybe you are ashamed of, or there's shame attached to it. Like, there's so many different reasons, but it's also about just loving those parts of yourself and accepting them as well, and having so much compassion for yourself as you look deep inside and acknowledge parts that are maybe just not as easy to really take a look at too.
Absolutely. And I love that you had said like acceptance, because a lot of it is self-acceptance, because at some point in time we were led to believe that there was something wrong with us, right? when in
Mm-hmm.
reality there
Yep.
wasn't. Like it was just like other people who could not accept things about themselves as well, like projecting those things onto you. Like there's always this like fear of being judged or fear of like, as women actually, I was watching this
Mm-hmm.
thing, and for women, one of the hardest things that we struggle with is worrying about being too much. So we're always like
Yeah.
dimming ourselves down, making ourselves smaller so that we are accepted. When in reality, we need to fully accept ourselves and shine that light no matter what anybody else says, no matter what kind of feedback you're going to get, no matter what, like really honoring and staying true to yourself. And a big part of that as well is like also forgiveness, like forgiving so many people from the past, forgiving yourself for tolerating things that you should have
Mm-hmm.
never
Mm-hmm.
tolerated, right? Because you
Yep.
didn't know any better, because you didn't have strong boundaries, because of all these things. And when you really dive into self love, you start creating these things. You start being able to say no unapologetically. You start being able to have firm boundaries without worrying about what anybody else is going to think or how they're going to receive it or hurting their feelings or whatever, right? Because if you don't,
Mm-hmm.
then you're hurting your own feelings. You're hurting yourself, and you're the one who has to live with that, not the other person, right? And if they love and accept themselves as well, then they're not going to be offended by your boundaries. You're going to be able to have clear communication about them. And, and that's just how we can all like, I guess, like live in harmony. I don't know.
Yeah, and I like how
When
you're kind
everybody
of all of
focuses on their
your
own.
yeah, and I love that all of your descriptions of self-love in this moment and like whatnot is actually not what most people would direct their attention towards, which is
Hmm.
the exterior, okay? Because a lot of people assume, and maybe even like personally too, my self-love journey did begin um when I was, just trying to like accept my body that had changed
Yeah.
with motherhood because I had a lot of confidence as a young woman and I was very confident in myself and I never felt like insecure fully. Like, of course, everybody has insecurities no matter what, but like, I I didn't see them until they really come through. Until I had my kids, my son specifically, my oldest, and I started to notice that I would rather disappear and like just like be in the background and not really show up as myself until yeah, my journey did start there. But I love just like how your explanation isn't specifically towards, what
Yeah.
you look like on the outside and doing
Yeah.
that self-love journey where it's not just about the physical attributes of self-love, and that's the dichotomy of it because some people are already confident in how they look and they don't have any of those insecurities about themselves or ones that are problematic for them at this point in their life. And then there's some people that it's more of the internal stuff, right? It's like the internal stuff that you're projecting or, it's coming around you in your life and you're starting to see this like pattern show up in your behavior or even the behavior you allow, like you were saying, from others around you and
Hmm.
not having your boundaries. And so yeah,
Yeah.
self-love is a very dynamic thing. It doesn't
It
always
is.
specifically have to be just about like loving your body, thinking you're beautiful, da da da, like all that kind of stuff and self-acceptance in that way. It really is like about, you know, setting those boundaries with it's not just about partners, it's like your friends. Sometimes you have friends that you love
Yeah.
dearly, but they can overstep their boundaries and they don't like either that's speaking about your business to other people or maybe they just like trauma dump on you all the time and
Yeah.
it's always about them and it's just like there's those kinds of things and there's family too that don't have boundaries that will show up to your house at any given moment and not really like think about that you might be busy or have plans or give you a hard time about not wanting to come for Christmas or not wanting to show up to this event because you don't have time or because someone that you are not comfortable being around is there. Like there's so many different things, but yeah, I think that's important to really think about that. It's not just about like the exterior about loving yourself, There's a lot of internal things that need your attention that we kind of brush off, I think, more so to the side than the physical because the physical is in your face every
Yes.
single day. So I
Absolutely.
think that's why people associate self-love with that. But really, it's that like stuff that you are able to like, I always say like put it in a box and tuck it away in the back of your
Mm-hmm.
mind or the back
Mm-hmm.
of your heart, like, and it just sits in that little box and you never open it again, you know?
Yeah.
And those are
So
the things that you need to crack open.
absolutely. Well, because when you change your internal world, right, then your external world reflects that, right? And like I always like to focus on with self-love is mind, body, soul, right? And I'm glad that you
Yeah,
brought up the body part of it because like yourself, I feel like you were very confident and sure of yourself and your body when you were growing up, right? And
yeah,
until you had kids and then you're like, oh my goodness,
yeah,
right? And I think we've all had that moment after we've had our baby and we're just
yeah. You
like, oh
recognize this
my
body.
god, like
Yeah,
it will
I don't know
never
how
be
to
the
dress
same
this
again.
body.
Like,
Yeah, I don't know what to
it'll
do with
never
this.
be the same
I've
again.
never lived in this body before. Yeah, like
And I was never like that. I was never like that. Like growing up, I was made fun of. I was body shamed. I was all the things. And so I never believed that I could even love the body that I'm in because there was something wrong with it.
mm,
It was never skinny enough. It was
oh,
never this. It was
yeah,
never that. It was never whatever until I actually was like over having children and really started diving into my spiritual journey or whatever that I could really well when I started going as well to the new goddess retreats and everything then I was like more so stepping into like fully loving my body because I was like I can remember I don't know, I'm sure it was probably like 6 7 years ago or whatever, and I was like working out all the time all the time all the time, and it was like the best my body had probably ever been, and that was like after having kids and everything, and I still wasn't fucking happy. I was
right.
still miserable inside. I was still tired. I was still
Mm-hmm.
depleted. I was still all the things, right? I couldn't still even love and accept my body because of everything that I had been told it was not, right?
Right.
So it was like no matter how much I looked in the mirror, all I could see is what I was told my whole life. And so
Mm-hmm.
until you actually like break down those barriers, break through those limiting beliefs and that negative mindset and everything, then it's really hard to still love and accept yourself, right? And so it's been a really
Yeah, even,
long journey for me.
oh, me too. Like, I think it's been probably around the same time as you, like
Yeah.
7 8
Yeah.
years ago, when I started to really look at um, why I felt that way and where those belief systems were coming from. And this is what I'm talking about when it's like adding the shadow work into your self-love journey, because I really had to find the root of where that came from, and it was an ugly place to go. It was ugly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I thought like I was a very confident young woman, but at the same time, I didn't realize the messages that were being given
Mm,
to me from
right.
people very close to me, because like specifically my mom, she's always been a bigger woman, and she would say things to me like, "Oh, if I had your body at your age, I would definitely," like, she didn't ever like give me a hard time about the clothes that I wore, or like when she took me to get my belly button pierced. I was actually really young. I was 13 years old, because she was like, if I had a body like that, and it was kind of praised in that way. And then it was also like, oh, she eats like a bird and da, da, da. But I just like, I don't know. I've always been the smaller person in our family. And so I was given these messages of like praise
Yeah.
at one, like, there's praise about like, oh, you're so cute. And oh my gosh, you're going to be so beautiful when you're older. And like all of these thoughts in my head as a young woman. And then, but also being like made fun of at the same
Mm-hmm.
time for
Mm-hmm.
being slim and kind of like smaller in my it was just such a weird thing, and I guess I thought that would was kind of normal, and it didn't really like hit me until, like I said, I was older and I was doing my shadow work, that I was able to see like, yeah, that's not the best messages to be received, that you're being praised for something. Because I guess when I talk about like how my body changed, of course then I would be like, what is going on? Because it's
Mm-hmm.
like this version of me was valuable because of how it looked.
Yeah.
And so that change as well. And then also having family members making comments like, oh, you're never going to be as skinny when I was pregnant. You'll never be as cute as you used to be. Get ready to, like, things like that,
Mm.
it just, kind of like really putting it as like, oh my gosh, like my whole life is about to change. I don't know if I was ready for that. And I wasn't thinking about it when I was like ready to have kids. It's like, oh, I'm gonna lose my body and it's gonna be a whole thing. And that's the toxic environment that's in
Yes.
motherhood. As
Yeah.
like it's pretty bad. And I think maybe when we were younger, and having our kids, it was worse because we didn't have the internet like we do now, where there's so much positivity. Yes, there's a lot of negativity out there, but there's a lot of body positivity, and also like mom supports and like showing natural women. Like one of the moms that I follow on Instagram is Birds Papaya. I don't know if you follow
Oh
her, but she's
yeah, she's so
amazing,
good.
and she's
Mhm.
been a great help for me in my
Mhm.
journey recently. But yeah, I really didn't realize just like how toxic some of those messages that I was receiving were until I was in the mess. And then I shut down and I just started to like disappear.
Right.
Like I
Yeah.
said before, I wanted to fucking disappear. Excuse my language. I wanted
I
to
already swore.
disappear. So
It was too
I
late. It
do know
already
I get
happened.
so that. Get
Sorry if
used to it,
you're
okay?
offended.
We like
There
to
might be a few
swear
F-bombs here
some
and
days.
there.
I might have to change the discussion on our podcast, but that's okay. I'll do that
Definitely
later.
not recommended for children. Okay.
No, about that. But yeah,
So
so that's so funny. But yeah, I had to really like look at that ugly, ugly thing, And yeah,
So
oh my
I'm
gosh,
glad
we're
that
so
you
funny.
also had like you had a different experience, right? And so like I'm glad that we can bring both perspectives to this as well because
Yeah,
like but it just shows how in society women are so valued for what their body looks like, right?
yeah.
And has
hmm
been for so long. I feel like it has definitely been shifting and changing with like body empowerment, like women empowerment and all of this kind of stuff, which I think is
Yeah, it's still
amazing.
tough out there
It
though. Like there's
is.
still a lot of
Absolutely.
negative messaging out there about like
Absolutely.
bounce back culture, right? Where bounce back, if you don't know what that means like how quickly you're allowed to, or you're able to like go back to your original
Yeah.
size after having your child, right?
Yeah.
That's bounce back, and just like there's still some messaging out there that's toxic, but we have more connection to amazing people that are expressing themselves like we are
Mm-hmm.
today and sharing their stories that
Mm-hmm.
makes us feel so much less alone in our journey as well.
So here's what I've like noticed and realized through like my journey with my body and everything is that the more that I actually love my body, the more it shows up for me. Even the parts of it that I
hmm
absolutely, cringe about sometimes, right? The more love and care and attention that I give it, the more that it like responds in a positive way, right? If you're continuously looking in the mirror and berating yourself every day, every day, every
hmm
day, like
Or
that is
avoiding the
like
mirror altogether.
or looking in the mirror altogether. There's some days I'm like, nope, we're not. I'm like, there are some days where I'm like, nope, not even going past the mirror. Absolutely not. Right? Like it's not a thing. And
Yeah,
but like we shouldn't feel that way. I tell people all the time, I'm like, you picked this vessel. You picked this vessel to come. It's like a car. We get in, our soul gets in, we drive around in it on earth for a while, and then we go back.
yeah,
Right. And so, like,
yeah,
you chose this vessel for some reason. Right. And the faster that we can actually love our vessel, the easier the journey is and the happier we freaking are.
yeah. And to add to that, when I started my journey, I wasn't specifically changing my diet, exercising, doing all of these things. But as I started to love myself
Mm-hmm.
internally, externally, all of like doing all of the work, like I said, the shadow work and really digging deep, I changed.
Yeah.
Like my body
Yeah.
changed.
It
And
responds
I
positively.
mean, it responded in a way where it's like I felt more like myself than I ever had before.
Mm-hmm.
And at 40, almost 40, like I
Right.
feel like I feel and look my best. And I did because we all can relate to this, okay? Like honestly, comment below if you can relate. Comment, please, let us know. But we've all been there where we've seen a picture of ourselves from our past, and we're like, oh my gosh, so cute! Look at you, girl! Like, oh, I love that. Like, whatever. But then if you can take yourself back to that moment and that photo and that space of time,
Mm-hmm.
like you've probably experienced, and you know that in that you looked at yourself in that picture and you're like, oh my God, I hate this. I look
Yeah.
this way. I look
Yeah.
bad. I look gross. I blah, blah, blah. And you berated yourself. 10 years later, you look back at the picture, you're like, want to go back in time and smack yourself and be like, what were you thinking? You look great. You looked
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
But at that, even at that time, when you feel like you looked your best, that you actually internally were not feeling that best. And so that goes into today, right?
Yeah.
So when you think about you're looking back on that picture of yourself from 10 years ago where you feel like you looked your best, give that same compassion to you today when you
Mm-hmm.
take that photo and you sit there and you critique yourself
Yeah.
and you're like, oh my gosh, just think 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 40 years from now, when you're old and gray and you're looking back, you're going to be happy you have the picture of yourself looking so cute. You're not going to be thinking, oh my gosh, I was so disgusting. I was so that, like, the thoughts you were having about yourself in that moment, just the way, you know what I mean? So it's like you think about those versions of yourself. So you think back, that's like going back in time to the younger version of yourself and showing compassion, and then going to the future self and in this moment, allowing yourself that compassion for you today. Like, and I think that's like was a big step for me in accepting like myself and just being able to show up for that version of me that I wasn't very nice to then, and also being like calling for my future self, being like, no, we're not going to continue that cycle of self-deprecation moving forward, you know?
So yeah, and here's where the mindset thing comes into play with like the mind, body, soul experience, right? Like shifting and changing your mindset, releasing the limiting beliefs that like obviously
Mm-hmm.
your limiting beliefs were much different than mine, and that's okay. We all have
Yeah.
our same. We all have our same experiences. We all have the same, negative things that we were told or that we've seen or what society thought or whatever else, right? And so like shifting and changing that mindset is like part of the battle. It's part of the journey. And I actually just did last night we did a goddess experience, a Valentine's goddess experience, and it was all centered around self-love. And it was also focused on our body, where we actually were like loving, giving our body love and care and attention. And we were found gratitude for every part of our body, because no matter what,
Mm-hmm.
every morning, your body, no matter how mean you are to it, no matter how all the things that you tell it, no matter anything, it still wakes up for you every day. It still shows up. It still does the things that you want it to do and everything else, even though you are so mean to it every day.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And
Yes,
how
so true.
amazing is that? How much easier would it be if you just gave it love instead?
Yeah,
Right?
and compassion, like so
Exactly.
much compassion.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
really about compassion. Like,
Yes. Oh, and
because acceptance is about compassion.
bringing in that Kuan Yin energy for compassion, very
Oh
much
yes, I
so.
know. I forgot to add her
That's okay. She's
to
here.
our
She's here.
sacred space. But
Yeah.
yes, she's here. She's right behind me here. But yeah, I think self-compassion
Yeah.
is even more valuable when you're doing this journey of self-love and self-acceptance, because sometimes the things that you're looking into and you're realizing aren't things that you can change.
Yeah.
And compassion is where that comes in,
Mm-hmm.
and
Well,
having that softness for yourself.
so here's the other thing though. If you've never been shown compassion, it's really hard to give it to yourself. It's a foreign
Oh,
concept, right?
valid.
If you've
Yeah,
never
valid.
received compassion from anybody before, right? And that's where the whole like concept of needing to be perfect for everything. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
If you were never shown compassion before, then what comes into play with that is like lots of like inner childhood healing, right? Going back to that little girl or
Mm-hmm.
little boy or whoever is listening, doesn't matter, and giving them like in that moment, right? When they were being berated, when they were being whatever, like made fun of or whatever it was, right? Um, and actually giving them the love and care and compassion that they needed in that moment. It's like reparenting yourself, right? And parenting yourself the way you needed to be parented and shifting and changing that. Because when you actually do that, that actually shifts and changes. If you can go back to that moment, it shifts and changes things moving forward as well.
Right? And that's kind of what I'm saying about like that having that
Oh, with the
compassion
the
for
picture
yourself when
thing and
you,
stuff too. Yeah.
yeah, like
Yeah.
because like you said, it goes into the past, but it also goes into your future and forward,
Mm-hmm.
and it
Mm-hmm.
changes that mindset. So it's like actually being in that moment because let's be real, we all sit there and we know that what we're doing in that moment, you'll be like, oof, but you won't change the dynamic.
Right. Yeah.
And so it
Mm.
just continues and persists. So if you can sit in that moment and just make, like you said, make that shift
Yeah.
in mindset from why am I being so negative or saying something so mean to myself? Like an example would be like, would you say this to your best friend? No. So why would you
Right.
say it to yourself? Would you
Yeah.
say it to any other person who is feeling the way you're feeling right now? No. Okay, then why are you like? Then you need to extend that to yourself as well,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right? And that's where all that's self love right there in that
Yes, it
moment. You were
is.
showing yourself that love
Absolutely.
and compassion,
So
being
I
like, I would never
actually
speak to my best friend that way.
Exactly. And so I actually want to touch base on the whole concept of like women nurturing themselves because like as women we were never raised to nurture ourselves. We were always meant to like self-sacrifice, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that we're only valued for like what we can give and all of that kind of stuff, right? And so this is why as women we're tired, we're grouchy, we're depleted, we're all of these things, right? And so like I've really been like diving in women to like or like with women to like give back, give to not give back, but give to themselves first, right? Like to fill the cup up.
Mm-hmm.
And then whatever is in the cup is for you, whatever is overflowing for everybody else, right? And filling your own cup is different for everybody, right? It might be baths and pedicures and hair days and spa days and whatever else. Like that might be your thing. For others, it might be like doing things that are creative that feed your soul, right? You might love gardening.
Yeah,
For
going
some,
out
it might
into the
be just like
trees.
exactly going out into nature and whatever else. But one thing that that came to my mind as well when you were talking was how powerful mirror affirmations are to change your mindset or even just talking to yourself in the mirror. Like what you needed to
Oh
hear as
yes.
a child.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
how the first time, do not be surprised if you completely break down the first time you do this because you're
Yeah,
like
and look
building
yourself
up to
right in the
things
eyes.
right in the
Don't
eyeballs. Like
avoid
I'm not
that
even
self.
kidding. Like
Yeah,
you
don't
are
avoid that
looking,
self eye
you are
contact.
looking deep into your own soul.
Yes,
Like
into
it
your own
is,
soul.
yeah, yeah, it
Mm-hmm.
is. Absolutely. And it
Yeah.
is like, I can just remember the first time that I really like looked into my eyes and told myself I loved myself. And I was like, done, bawling my face off, right? Because I was like, never felt love, never felt like lovable, like I was even worthy and deserving
Yeah.
of being loved,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because when you think that there's like
Mm-hmm.
something wrong with you your whole life, like that's really hard to just like flip the switch on immediately,
Oh,
right?
it's so painful actually that you say that because I that's one of the affirmations I use when I do like my Reiki and my chakra healing. As
Mm-hmm.
like when I do the heart chakra, like I
Yeah.
am loved and I am lovable. This is one that I use with my clients, and every time fall because it's because I ask them to say it with me, right? And so
Yes.
you can repeat affirmations in your mind all day, every day. Works great too. But when you speak that out loud and you actually hear yourself say, I am
Mm-hmm.
loved, I am lovable,
Mm-hmm.
it's a whole other level of like emotion that comes through. So I would encourage you to say this stuff out loud,
Yeah.
okay? Like don't just say it in your mind, like say it out loud because it's so much more powerful to invoke it emotionally in that way,
Yeah.
right?
One of,
And so you're not alone in that, girl. Like it's just so
oh,
common.
I
Like it
know.
that breaks
Mm-hmm.
my heart. It breaks my heart to know that so many women are walking around feeling, and men, okay, like you said,
Yeah.
and men too,
Yeah.
whoever's listening,
Oh, apparently I'm
walking
getting
around
thumbs up.
like they're feeling unloved.
Absolutely.
Okay, you can do that. I can't do
So,
that.
but that's exactly it. How many people are walking around because like they don't, it's like we don't talk about it. We don't get to talk about it.
Yeah.
We don't about feeling this way or whatever else. I also wanted to share that one of my favorite affirmations that I like to do with my clients and myself all the time is I love and accept myself exactly as I am right in this very moment, is one
That's
that I
so
use
perfect.
all the time,
I
right?
love that.
Because
Mm-hmm.
we are so focused on like the past, the future, how we want to be, how the things were, how everything else. And it's like, no,
Yeah.
right now, this moment, this is where I am. This is where my power lies, is in this very moment, right? So I
Yeah.
love and accept myself exactly as I am right in this very moment. And that I could be ugly crying. It doesn't matter. Like I'm like, nope, that's okay. We're going to love and accept ourselves exactly through all the mess, through all the chaos, through all of the everything, right?
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been told and taught that it's not okay, right? That
Mm-hmm.
because my throat's like
Yeah.
that we don't talk about
Because
it.
it's
We don't
gotta
talk
come
about it,
out.
right?
You're feeling this
Uh,
coming from the collective right now. The collective is
I
coming through
know.
and just
And
being
that's
like,
why I was like,
oh, it
because
sits
we
right
don't,
here.
like, that's what I said at the beginning of the podcast. Like, because it's
Yeah.
like taboo. We don't like self love. Like, whoa, like, we don't talk about it. We don't like, it's such a, I don't know, a taboo subject. And I think but it's where our power lies, is in loving
Yeah.
ourselves.
It even comes to when someone compliments you
Yeah.
and you have to like shut it down and just be like, oh, blah blah blah. It's like,
Thanks.
no,
Yeah.
you instead of saying like, she's like, oh my gosh, you're so gorgeous, instead of being
Yeah.
like, oh, and
Yeah.
brush it off, like
Yeah.
it, because
Or
it feels
thinking
weird to
you
say
have to give
thank
them a
you, or it's like,
compliment as well. Right.
I'm amazing. Even complimenting yourself, like I am amazing. Saying that
Yeah.
out loud, I'm
Yeah.
amazing. I'm
hmm
incredible. I'm
hmm
this. Like it's so weird to say. So it does feel like you're being conceited or egotistical, but that
Exactly.
is not
Yeah.
conceited or egotistical. Like you should love yourself more than anybody else loves
Yeah.
you,
Right.
right?
Right.
Like
Because
it's so
because
important.
everything else out and around it is just supposed to be like a bonus. It's like just
Yes.
extra love, right? When we
Hmm.
rely on other people for love, we're giving our power away,
Yeah.
right? And then we're constantly grasping for it. Whereas when we actually can love and accept ourselves, like that's where our power lies, right? And one thing I just remember is like people would compliment me and I could not accept the compliment because I was like, what? Like I
Nope.
didn't believe them. I didn't believe
Yep.
them because I didn't see that for
Or you
myself,
just
right?
I didn't want to feel like I don't know, it would always make me feel like I was being
Uncomfortable.
and oh, then I think I'm better than others or
Right.
something. And
Right.
you know what I mean? It's like
Right.
that's not what it is at all. I don't think I'm
Yeah.
better than anybody.
Right.
You know?
And I do
I'm
believe
no
that we
greater than anyone.
right. But I do believe that we need to receive these messages from other people so that we remember that for ourselves.
Yeah.
Right. Like
Yeah.
it's like a reminder. And so I just say, like, literally, like in my head, I'm like, yes, thank you. I am receiving that. Yes, thank you. I am receiving that. Because as women, we have a very hard time receiving as well, because we think that we need to be giving all the time. Right. And so
Yeah.
to reprogram your
We
mind
self-abandon.
that it
Hmm.
is okay to receive. Right. It is okay to
Hmm.
receive. So, yeah.
I mean, which is our natural state of being, which it should be as a woman. Your natural state of being is to
Right.
receive. But do you know it is because there's like this thing even online about like pretty privilege, right?
Mm,
And just like, oh, because you're beautiful, you get all the things that you want. Like there's this privilege, and I'm sure that's a thing. Like where and I actually, you know what? Let's be real. I think that's really a thing because now that I really just said that out loud, I'm thinking about times when I was like before after I had my kids and my body had changed, I started trying to dress like a mom and fit a certain
mm,
role, and I wasn't being myself. I wasn't being
mm-hmm.
my witchy, sexy, sensual self that I am usually. That's my nature. Um, and I was just kind of like I could see the difference on how people treated me by how I looked.
Absolutely.
It is a thing. People do treat
So,
you differently by how you look, right? And it's just like a weird thing that, so then it makes you feel, especially if you're somebody who's not egotistical and looking for attention, it feels like a negative thing,
hmm so here's
right?
the thing though, as you were talking about this, like, this is what was going on in my head is like, was it like you were still beautiful, right? What the clothes you wear and
Yes.
whatever else should not matter. You're still beautiful. It's your inner radiance. It's the fact that you were being true to yourself and people pick up on that, I think is the difference,
And so
right?
maybe I wasn't attracting like I was before because I
Yeah.
was withholding. I was holding it
Exactly.
in. I was
Yeah.
hiding
Because you were
away. I
like,
was just
I
like,
don't
that's
want
okay,
to be seen,
Rebecca.
right? I don't want to be
I
seen,
didn't want to
right?
be seen.
Exactly.
That's
And so
true.
when we actually are like fully in our essence, when we're fully in our power, when we are embracing and loving ourselves and being true to ourselves and showing up exactly the way we want to, right?
Yeah.
Zero, zero bucks given about the world around us and whatever they think and everything else. We're being true to ourselves and living in our full authenticity. Yes, then you
You know what?
attract
I
like a
love you, girl.
rose.
This is why these conversations are so great
I love
because
you.
you, again, just shining a light on some of these things. And this is why it's so important for us to have these conversations because in
Absolutely.
my mind, that was what was playing in my mind.
Of course,
But when
right?
you say it out loud and
Hmm.
you have someone else to reflect it back
Yeah.
to you, I actually
Yeah.
made a post about this. Like everybody needs somebody who can reflect back to them sometimes.
Oh,
Yes,
and we
it's
have
good to
so
trust your
many.
own and do all of that and like,
Hmm.
really trust yourself. But at the same time, I did not see that perspective, even though I've been in this space. See, we're always learning, we're always changing, we're
Yes,
always
we are.
absorbing new information and learning new things because you just really changed that mindset for me that
Yeah.
no, you know what? You're right. I
Yeah.
wasn't because as soon as I started showing up more authentically as
Hmm.
myself, not caring what other people like, it was a funny thing when I was in high school. Like my girlfriend would make fun of me. It's just like, why would you wear that? Because
Why
I
not?
like it. It's like,
Why
but it's
not?
not in, it's not popular, it's not what most girls are wearing to school. Like, what are you doing? Don't wear that shirt. It's so
Hmm.
ugly. And
Hmm.
it's just like, I didn't care about that kind of stuff. I just did my own thing. And then I stopped doing that. And when I stepped back into that space of just showing up as myself, like, I don't care. Because it wasn't about other people and what they thought. It really wasn't. It was about, like, this is what I like. This is how I want to show up. And you really do see, like, people are more
Attracted.
drunk. It's like a sandwich kind of
Yeah.
situation for me. There
Yeah.
was a point in my time where I was that way, and then
Hmm.
I stopped being that
Hmm.
way, and then I'm
Hmm.
back to like being that version of myself. And it's still hard, and I know you probably experienced that as well, where it's it's about vulnerability.
Absolutely. And I kind of love that you're like, you stopped being yourself. You stopped being yourself when you became a mom. Because we, as
Yes,
women, we were taught that we over sacrifice ourselves and we give all of our time and attention and energy and everything else to our children. And in reality, that's
and
not helping and
this
serving
is how
anybody.
this is how a certain, but it was also the societal idea of what a mom looks like, what she
Yes,
does, how she
right.
shows up, how she
That is not
behaves.
appropriate. That
That's
is
not appropriate. You're a mom. That's not appropriate.
that is
Girl,
not
it was
appropriate.
so
That is
bad. It was so
unacceptable.
bad. Yeah, it was so bad for me that I stopped going swimming with my kids. And this is actually
Aw,
what
that's
started
so
my
sad.
journey with the
Yeah,
Nude Goddess Retreat,
yeah.
actually. Because I would brush it off as like, oh, well, this is just their time with their dad, right? Their time to be with
Mhm,
their dad. I
mhm.
don't know. I just like would put it that, but my girlfriend was just like, no, Shannon, like you just don't want to wear a bathing suit.
Yeah. She just put
Not a
it into
one piece,
perspective
not a
for
two
you.
piece, not a no piece, not anything. Like
Not
I'm
a
not being
nothing,
lady with
like,
a. I didn't want to, but I didn't want to be the lady in the pool with the t-shirt on. Not that that's a bad thing. If that's what you do, that's totally fine. If that's what you're most comfortable. But for me, it was just like I felt like it was my mom would do that because she was a bigger woman, so she was hiding. So
right.
from my
Yeah.
perspective,
Yeah,
again, there's
absolutely.
that
It's like
hiding
the moms don't
perspective,
go in the
right?
water and play with the kids. The dads do that. Why are the moms
And
doing
then
that?
not even just that, I didn't want to be seen. Again, I
Mhm.
wanted
Mhm.
to not be seen. I didn't
Yeah.
want to I had to be seen in a bathing suit. I didn't want to put myself out there like that because I wasn't comfortable with my body. I wasn't comfortable with any of that. It made me so insecure that I stopped wearing bathing suits for like 12 years. My
That's so
son is
sad.
16. And
Yeah,
I
that's so
was
sad.
So it's been, yeah, it's been
Mm-hmm.
about 5
Mm-hmm.
years that I started wearing bathing suits again. So
Yeah.
it's pretty recent if you really think about it, but it was started with the nude goddess retreat and being like, I need to get over this like way of thinking about my body
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't feel that way. It's just I had been doing it for so long now by that point.
Yeah.
I
So
didn't know any different.
do you feel like, because as a mom, right, I feel, and I have two girls that I really wanted to dive into the like body positivity of everything because I never wanted my girls to feel the way I did. Like I wanted them to like fully love and
That's,
accept
yeah,
themselves no matter what
yeah, because
their body
Cameron was
looked
so
like.
little.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cameron was only 4 or 5 when I started my journey.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I don't want my daughter to ever, and I do not say the things that
Right.
were said to me
Right.
to my daughter. And I made sure to have that actual conversation with my
Yeah.
husband as
Oh.
well at the time of like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, don't make comments about her body, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
things like that. Because again, that wasn't something, not that he was, it's just I wanted to make sure that
Yeah.
we
Absolutely.
don't do that. I grew up in a
All
family
on the
where
same
people
page,
would do
right?
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we're all on the same page. We're just,
Yeah.
even with Mateo, like we're not going to focus on like, oh, you look like you're getting chubby or you're putting on some
No.
weight or
Because
whatever
kids
it
do
was.
that
I
all the
just didn't
time.
want to do that.
Have
Yeah,
you ever
and
noticed that
especially
when
during
kids grow,
puberty.
like they
Hmm.
always like, they'll like kind of like whatever, like you said, get chunky or what, I don't even know. Like, but it just seems like they put on a little bit of weight and then they grow and then they put on a little bit of weight and then they grow, right? Because they need that.
Right.
Like, that's how that
They
works.
need
Like,
that.
that's
Hmm.
exactly how that is.
And their
That's their
body
body
is
growing and
changing and it's
evolving. And there
shifting.
should be nothing
Yeah.
said about it. That's just life. That's
And
just
you
them
know why?
growing.
And you know why it shouldn't be said? Because at the same time as their body's changing and growing, so is their emotional and
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
mental
Yeah.
health. Okay?
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
like they are absorbing everything that they hear, everything that they see, everything that they say. So it's not, like you said, with you wanting to change how you showed up and me as well,
Yeah.
because I did not want to say the things like I just mentioned about my mom in the t-shirt in the pool, and then I in turn didn't want to be the mom in the
Yeah.
t-shirt in the pool hiding. So those little dynamics or the little things that your mom would say about herself in the mirror would stick with you, and like, you know what I mean? Like I don't want to pass that down where my daughter's hearing
Absolutely.
me talk crap about myself,
Yeah. I just tell
and
my girls
now,
that they're like beautiful goddesses all the time. I'm like, you're just such a beautiful goddess. I don't just tell them they're beautiful because I don't want them to think that they're like,
yeah, don't fall into that loop.
right? Like that they're
Yeah.
like, value is based off of what they look like or whatever. Like, but like,
Hmm.
there's just
Yeah.
like so many moments also with my kids that I'm like, I'm so freaking proud of you. Like, I am so proud of you. Like, so much
And
so.
are you proud of yourself? Are you proud? Because
Yeah.
again,
See,
getting back to the self
I
love
know.
and
And I
teaching
will
them.
100%, I will 100% like admit that like I do have to check myself on that all the time still. All the time. All the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Because, but I
And even
also
for
believe,
them, are they
hmm
proud of themselves? Are they
right.
proud of who
Yeah.
they're becoming?
hmm
How
hmm
they're showing up in their lives with their family, with their friends,
Yeah.
like things like that. Because again, we talk, it's not all about the outside stuff. I mean, obviously we touched on that quite a bit, but at the same time, it's also that internal stuff. Like, are you proud? So when you say, I'm so proud of you, we have to ask them, are they proud of themselves? Not
Yeah.
just for us, not us.
Yeah.
Like I'm like you. I need to be a little bit more kinder to myself in that way for the
Absolutely.
all of the stuff that we've overcome, not even just with self love, just life in general. But yeah, I think it's important to point that finger back to them because it's cultivating that internal dialogue about how you feel about yourself and not the validation of me or your grandmas or your
hmm
auntie or your
hmm
teachers
hmm
or your principal, like all of that kind of stuff, and turning it back. Am I proud of the work that I'm putting in? Am I proud of the things that I'm doing right now and how
How
I'm
I'm
showing
showing
up
up.
and
Yeah.
as a human being with
Yeah.
my friends, you know?
hmm
Yeah.
one thing like I actually hate when people are like, "Oh, you're such a good girl. You're such a good boy. And it's like, like like I can't with that. Like it just irks me
Mhm.
so badly. Like I think
Mhm.
it's so toxic to tell people that it's like you are only loved and valued when you act a certain way because that means you're being good, which means it's like
Oh, so true.
you're behaving the way
Yeah.
I like you to behave. So you're such a good girl or you're such a good boy. And I'm just like
I actually caught myself doing that yesterday.
I'm like I
I
do
was
that with
talking with
our
my
puppy,
girlfriend.
but that's for a
Ugh.
different reason.
Well, like my son had gone out with his friends for a sleepover, and I was talking to my girlfriend, and she had said, "Well, like, how do you know, like, they're not, drinking or doing things, blah blah blah?" And I was like, "Oh no, his friends." I'm like, his this group of friends, they're like really good kids. And I
Oh
caught
yeah.
myself in that
Yeah.
moment, and I was
Yeah.
like, even kids that are experimenting and having like doing whatever does not
Mhm.
make them bad
Mhm.
kids.
No.
And in my mind, in that moment, I knew I like it was because I have done this for so long, and I really am like always aware of when this stuff pops out of my
Yeah.
mouth, because it
Yeah.
still does. Like these still
Mhm.
conditioned thoughts pop out of my mouth all of the
Absolutely.
time. Because and
Mhm.
so what you said is so validating to me and my experiences, because I really had to catch myself in that moment and be like,
Mhm.
even if those kids decided, oh, we're gonna steal some vodka or some beer from his dad's fridge and whatever, does not make them bad. Because I did those things and I'm a good person. Like, and
Yeah.
it didn't
Yeah.
make me a bad kid.
Yeah.
I turned out fine.
It's just a different journey that they're on. Really. It's
Yeah,
just
and
a
it
different
doesn't make
journey.
them bad. Like, it's
No.
just one of those things that you condition of like a good kid and a bad kid. So you
Yeah.
really like touched on that for me in this moment, because it's like, yeah, I literally just had that experience myself of catching
Well,
myself
because it's like it's putting
in the
everybody into
moment.
boxes, right? It's like, oh,
Right.
here's your box, there's that box, there's this box, and there's whatever. And it's like, no,
Yes.
no,
So
we're all on
that's
this
what you were
earth.
just saying
We're
about
all
being
on this
good or
earth,
bad.
right? Like we're all having
Hmm.
experiences and like we all get to have our own choices because we have our own journey. And, like, yeah, not just like, yeah.
Yeah, and that goes more into the internal self-love stuff too,
Hmm.
not so much the external self-love, because when you think about that, that would be messaging as a young person that if you did do things that were not typically considered good behavior or whatever, then you're the bad kid, you're the troublemaker. Because honestly, I was the black sheep of my family, and I grew up that way, where I was
Mm.
considered like the bad, unruly one, because I was more emotional, I was more outspoken, I was more um, free in the choices that I made growing up.
So I love that you
It
said
was
this
more
about
free.
like I was the black sheep of the family or whatever, right? Which is not a bad thing. But
Hmm.
like one thing on the self love journey is really releasing our old stories of who we were. Right. And that
Yeah.
comes up with like the whole like a death and dark night of the soul and the rebirth process and everything. Right. Where
Oh,
we're like
yes.
shedding. We're in the year of the snake and we'll be
Hmm.
touching base on that in another podcast. But like shedding
Yes.
these past aspects and layers of ourselves that these old stories and programming is exactly what they are, that we are like still carrying around with ourselves that are no longer serving us. They're not. That's
Yes.
not
Oh
your
my
story
gosh.
anymore. It's like rewrite your story. Where are you at now? Where do you want to be? That is your story, right? The more
Yes.
we like Shannon and I love sharing our stories about the past so that we can help support you along your journey, but we're definitely not living in those stories anymore, right? Like we've definitely like
No.
let go of those stories
Hmm.
and we're like we don't resonate with that person anymore. We like sometimes I look back at the woman I
No.
used to be and I'm just like, who was she? Like how did I like you know what I mean?
Well,
Like I
this
get
goes into kind of what you were talking about earlier before we started about grieving those
grieving the
past
past
versions of
aspects. Yeah.
ourselves,
And you go
right?
through a grieving process. Sometimes you're like,
Hmm.
why am I even
Yeah.
crying? And what it actually is crying the past versions of yourself that like
Hmm.
they no longer resonate with you. Like becomes a
Yeah.
time where like, especially if you have a very like victim mindset, which I think some people don't realize it, that they're
Right.
caught into this victim mindset. But if you're still like
Yeah.
rehashing the same story that you told from like
It's like they're
5 years
married to
ago,
that version,
they're
that
married to
story.
that version. Like it's time to
They're married
divorce
to
that
that
version.
story.
We're done. Like
Yes.
sign the
Yeah.
paper, burn the contract,
Yeah.
whatever. It's over, right?
Yes.
Like
Burn the contract.
this is
Yeah.
like there is a new
Because it
version of you.
almost becomes like an identity.
Yes.
Your
And do you
identity
really want that
is
identity is what
that
you need
victim
to ask yourself. Yeah.
identity.
Yeah.
Like, and so it's important to actually like really reflect on that version of yourself. And because let's be real, again, I say that a lot, but let's be real about it. Like, you had to be that person to get to where you are today.
Absolutely. So here it is. A part of letting go of that person is
Mm-hmm.
sending them love and gratitude and appreciation for everything that they endured to get you to where you are today. That is a
Yeah.
part of it.
Because
That
if
is a
it
part of the
wasn't for
journey.
them, you might
And
not have made it
actually,
this far,
and
and it protected
actually,
you.
this is like actually something that I do in my group coaching program, Self Love Queen Academy, which is actually launching on March 20th. So if it's like a 12-week group coaching program, and we dive into self love and we release like these past aspects of ourselves, and we dive into like limiting beliefs and
Yes,
negative
that's
mindset and
perfect.
self love and self care and nurturing and all of these beautiful things, right? So if that is
Yeah.
something you're interested in, we'll post the link for that in the description, or you can reach out to me. It doesn't matter. But
Yeah.
yeah, like all of these things, like there's so much that goes into it. And most of it is like giving yourself kindness and care and love and compassion and forgiveness for the person that you are probably still berating for what they did or whatever else. And in reality, what they need is love.
Yeah. And they need, I mean, well, just
Right?
the versions of me
Hmm.
that I
But
had
she
to
showed up.
be
She showed up.
to
That
get
was the
through
difference,
so
right?
much.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
she made. I always like go back and will like thank myself for making certain decisions and
Hmm.
choices where I know I made a drastic turn, right? And
Right.
going back to that version of me that day made that choice to
Hmm.
change, like
Hmm.
going to the nude goddess retreat and doing that
Yes. Yeah. Pivotal.
changed my life. Like, it
Pivotal. That's my
changed
word for the year.
everything about me. Yes, pivotal. That's right. From last episode. But I wouldn't have met Shalon, my
Exactly. We
bestie,
wouldn't be
my
here
Witchin
today.
sister. We wouldn't be
Honestly.
here today. We wouldn't be here today.
Nope.
And we all had come in for different reasons to that retreat, but truthfully, it became more than just about what I thought it was going to be about, which was the outside, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
naked. You think naked nude goddess
Yeah.
is going to
No,
be about
you've never been
your
so
body
naked in your
specifically.
life than
Yeah,
when you're
yeah,
like
your
torn apart
soul
at
is
the
naked.
soul.
Yes, your
The
soul, you were
most
stripped down to
vulnerable
your
you've
bare
ever been in
soul.
your life. And we will
The most
we're going to touch
vulnerable.
base on that in another podcast too. But
Yes, little surprises. But, and that was when I began to grieve that version of myself that got me to that point. The lady who didn't want to be in a t-shirt in the pool,
yeah.
the woman who didn't want to be seen,
Yeah.
the woman who was um just like not expressive anymore, because it
Hmm.
wasn't just about the outside too. I wasn't expressing myself anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, oh, well, I'm too much, like you had spoke about earlier
Hmm.
in the beginning of the
Hmm.
podcast. I'm just too much, and people who can't receive me, and I'm a little too harsh or whatever. But that's like one of my greatest assets now. And it was
Absolutely.
then,
Hmm.
but it was like, I felt like, at the time it was, not being received well from most people around me.
Hmm.
And so and again, not being a mom, like, you shouldn't talk like that. You shouldn't be like that.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. It's a relearning who you really are. No. Yeah. Who do you want to be? Not who do your parents or who does society or who, whatever, or who, like, no, it's who do you want to be? How do you want to show up? Yeah. 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 Mm-hmm. 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 I love that you Yeah, I love that you said, like, with children, acceptance, right? Because when children aren't accepting one another, that there is a deeper thing. Like, there's a deeper programming that is coming from somewhere in regards to that. Because there's so much that I see. No, there's so much that I see online now about like kids who are like, kids don't see different like nationalities of people. They don't. They just see people, right? And how beautiful that is. And then they've like done something in their life that they were told is like unacceptable, or you don't act like that, or you don't do that, or you don't whatever. And that just like um creates a whole spiral of like feeling unlovable and unaccepted and like I'm not good enough and whatever else, right? And it's sad. It's sad when you see like the light go out in a child's eyes, because I've seen it and it's horrendous. It is heart-wrenching because it takes a lot to re-spark it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Your inner child, and wants to be playful and fun and loving and sorry, not sorry. You'll thank us later. You'll thank us later. Okay. So I have my Goddess Oracle card deck today, and I'm going to pull a card and see what message is coming through. So, which goddess is wanting to come through today with a message? Oh, I know, right? God, I love to just shuffle cards. I love this. She just came out the other day, Mother Gaia. Okay. Um, like Earth. And she's so beautiful. And she's like, so the number is 16, which is a seven, which is very spiritual. So we're tapping into our soul now. Okay. And like, she in this picture is actually pregnant. Okay. And she is just like so peaceful and in love with herself in this picture. Is like, I just feel like she's just so serene and just so in herself. But one of the ways that we can really reconnect with ourselves and reconnect with yeah, with ourselves, with our soul, with our inner self-love and everything, is being out in nature. It is so healing. It is so grounding when we are rooted and grounded in ourself and in who we are and who we want to be and how we want to show up. Like, that is so powerful, right? So she is just coming here today to help us. And even like when you go outside and you're like one with nature and you're earthing and everything, like, that is the best way to like release these emotions, to release these feelings, to release these negative beliefs and all of this kind of stuff, is just to give it all to Mother Earth. Okay. And that's why grounding is so important, because it's just like it just clears your energy field in general, right? To spend time out in nature. But like her being pregnant in this picture, like we were talking about being moms, right? And she just like is so proud to be this mom. It doesn't matter what her body looks like, right? Like it's her body, it's her vessel, and how amazing we are as women. I think that's the reminder here, how amazing we are as women, that our body changes all the time and we can shift and change and still love our bodies because they are powerful and they give life. They create life and they give life. And we are actually, one of the most powerful things I ever heard is that we are the portal between heaven and earth. We are, as women. And how freaking amazing. Like, we've been like swearing all podcasts, pardon me, but how freaking amazing is it that that is, like, when I heard that, I was like, I am powerful. Like, as women, we are powerful and we have been shamed for our power. And now it is time to really tap into that and reconnect with ourself, mind, body, and soul. So, yeah, yeah. Yes, yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. 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 And to be fat. To be fat. Not to be, but like, it doesn't matter what our body looks like, right? Yeah. Oh my God. KKK. I'm glad that you pointed that out because, okay, Shannon and I are in different time zones, but when we started the podcast, it was 2:22. So I was like, this is perfect. I love it. You didn't point it out because you were doing your thing, but okay. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. I love that you said that. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I love that. Hmm. She's flourishing. Yeah. Hmm. You're flourishing. Yeah. Absolutely. So I'm glad, I love that you pointed this out as well, because it's like, what, look at your world around you. If your world around you is not abundant and flourishing, and if it's just like chaos and whatever else, like, yes, we're going to have things that happen in our life, but it's like, reflect onto you go inward, go to your inner world, like, give to yourself, love and nurture on yourself, like, fill that cup